He only came to court to observe, a quiet teenager with dreams far bigger than anyone imagined. But the moment he stepped inside, the room turned cold. Whispers filled the benches, and a judge's laughter echoed at his expense. To them, he was nothing more than a kid who didn't belong. Yet what happened next would leave everyone stunned and reveal a truth about prejudice and brilliance that no one in that courtroom could ignore. How could one moment of mockery expose something so powerful? For most people, the courtroom was a place of fear. But for Marcus, a 17-year-old with a passion for justice, it was where he found inspiration. He had grown up studying case files. Like other teens studied sports stats, spending weekends buried in books while his friends hung out. To him, the law wasn't just rules on paper, it was a way to protect people who never got a fair chance. On that morning, he walked into the courthouse eager to observe, his notebook in hand, his future burning bright. He thought he was invisible, just another face in the gallery, but Marcus didn't know that before the day ended, he would be forced to prove himself in ways no one could have imagined. Marcus sat in the back of the courtroom, notebook open, ready to observe. But it didn't take long before eyes turned his way. Whispers darted between rows: his skin color, age, the way he carried himself. It all stood out in a place where authority was expected to look very different. To some, he was just a kid, playing dress up in a world reserved for adults. To others, he didn't belong there at all. When the judge finally noticed him, the moment shifted. A smirk crossed the bench and laughter rippled through the courtroom. It wasn't just a laugh, but a dismissal, a public signal that Marcus was out of place. The judge cracked a remark that drew even more chuckles, reducing Marcus to nothing more than a punchline. And in that instant, the courtroom no longer felt like a place of justice, but a stage where prejudice played the loudest role. Marcus felt his stomach tighten, his palms damp against his notebook. He had dreamed of this place for years, but he was humiliated instead of inspired. Still, he didn't move. He sat tall, watching, absorbing, letting every word carve deeper into his resolve. The cases went on, and Marcus listened carefully. Arguments filled with holes, lawyers stumbling under pressure, decisions swayed not by fairness but by status and appearance. He recognized mistakes the professionals missed and strategies that could have changed outcomes. Yet no one looked his way. To them, he was invisible, except when it was time to remind him he didn't belong. As the hours dragged, the weight of being underestimated pressed harder. But under that pressure, something unexpected began to burn. He wasn't just here to learn anymore, he was here to prove that intelligence has no age. Prove that skin color doesn't define brilliance. Prove that justice should belong to everyone, not just those the system favors. Still, the tension built. The smirks grew sharper, the remarks colder, until Marcus faced a choice: stay silent and fade into the background, or risk everything to show the courtroom who he truly was. And when that moment finally came, no one saw coming it would shatter the room's laughter and silence, even the judge who mocked him. The breaking point came without warning. The courtroom, buzzing with quiet judgment, suddenly erupted when the judge singled Marcus out again. With a smirk, he asked if the student in the back had learned anything helpful or if he was wasting time pretending. Laughter followed, sharp and cutting, bouncing off the marble walls like an accusation, but Marcus didn't flinch. Instead, he rose. His notebook, filled with precise observations, rested in his hands like a weapon of truth. His voice steady, unshaken, cut through the noise as he pointed out flaws and the arguments presented, loopholes ignored, and laws misapplied. He spoke with clarity that silenced even the loudest whispers. What started as ridicule transformed into stunned silence. The judge's smile faded. The attorneys shifted uneasily. No one expected brilliance from someone they dismissed as a child. Yet here he was exposing weaknesses they overlooked, revealing truths they buried, dismantling their authority piece by piece. For Marcus, every word carried the weight of those silenced before him. This wasn't just about proving his intelligence, it was about breaking through the wall of prejudice that tried to keep him invisible, and as his words echoed across the courtroom, the people who mocked him minutes before sat frozen, confronted by a truth they couldn't laugh away. The air hung heavy, charged with something larger than the case. It wasn't just about Marcus anymore, it was about the arrogance of a system that assumed brilliance had a face, an age, or a color dot in that moment. Everyone in the room realized they weren't just watching a teenager, they were witnessing a reckoning. When Marcus finally sat down, the silence in the courtroom spoke louder than any verdict. The same people who mocked him were now forced to confront the brilliance they had tried to bury. The judge, once amused, could no longer meet his eyes. The attorneys who sneered were left speechless, their authority shaken. Marcus hadn't just defended himself, he had exposed the prejudice woven into the very fabric of the room. For him, it was more than a personal victory. It was a reminder of the countless others who never had the chance to be heard, who were dismissed before they could even speak. Marcus walked out of that courthouse changed, not because he proved he was smart enough, but because he proved that society's narrow expectations were never accurate, but the impact stretched beyond those walls. His story became a mirror, reflecting the biases that still shape how people are judged by age, color, and circumstance. It forced a question no courtroom could dismiss. How many voices have we silenced because of what we thought we already knew? And that's the truth we're left with. Marcus's brilliance wasn't the surprise. The real shock was how quickly a system meant for justice tried to strip him of dignity before he even had a chance. If this happens to one determined teenager, what happens to the countless others who never had the opportunity to rise? So ask yourself, how many more Marcus will it take before we stop laughing and start listening?